What is up, hotties? Welcome back to another episode of Stay Hot. I'm Bladen Kirk, joined as always by my two favorite co-hosts of all time, Matthew Spinauer and Theo Ash. It is a great Sunday night of football, and we're going to give you guys a great recap of that great Sunday night of football. But before we get into all of that, Matt, Theo, how are you guys doing?
Doing all right. Just got back home, had a nice Thanksgiving, saw the family. You can't ask for much more, and even if I did, I don't know if I'd get it. So we're looking at, the bright side of this weekend.
Yeah.
we got DJ Reader, Trevor Lawrence, and Justin Herbert master classes in this week of football. Like so my narratives are up.
All you need is for the Packers to win, and your week is complete.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see about that. Jalen Hurts has 100 rushing yards in the first quarter, so
I've seen this happen before, man. I've seen this happen before. Look, if the Packers, I kind of checked out of the Packers season after the Titans game. If they would have won that game, I would have been pretty excited for the prospects the rest of the season. But losing that one kind of was like, well, there was our chance, and now we're down to the Eagles, and Rodgers has thrown 2 picks. We'll see how this game ends up. But I had a great Thanksgiving, and it was fun watching college football this weekend without any rooting interests, and could just enjoy.
Maybe it was fun for
could
some
just
people.
Enjoy what happened, which I can't say so much for my esteemed co-hosts.
Yeah, Matt, you had a rough weekend as far as college football goes. Ohio State lost, Cincy lost. Really doesn't get much worse than that as far as Saturday, or actually, since he was Friday, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's not all bad. I mean, Dabo Sweeney lost, who sucks, and Spencer Rattler killed him, and it's awesome. Spencer Rattler will be a legit prospect next year, I'm afraid. I don't know what level he's going to be. He's got the arm for it, I'm afraid, and he's gotten a lot better this season. So that's my prediction, at least from what I've seen. But yeah, the Ohio State game really reeked. They got killed, and it sucks because they lost it. It was on them. They blew it. They didn't they're a more talented team than Michigan. I don't care. They are. And the defense is so much better than it was last year. The front seven played well up until the end when they kind of lost all hope, but their secondary, I don't know how much you guys watch of this game. Oh my God, it is the worst secondary performance I have ever seen, and it killed them. It lost them the game, maybe single-handedly.
They stopped Corum. They did a good job stopping Corum, but they stacked the box. They played man coverage, and that part of the game didn't go so well.
And this wasn't even like, well, you have a bad cornerback. He got beat. Oh, well, he got out. Like, no, dude, this is like, missed tackle goes for 50 yards. This is missed pickup on a zone goes for 50 yards. This is I'm going to trip and fall down goes for 50 yards. This is we have a chance to tie that. Like I'm going to go just clobber this guy because if you can find me a play from that game where an Ohio State defensive back turns his head toward the ball, I will give you $1 million. It did not happen. It is so bad.
There's that one pass breakup on the left sideline, I think in the third quarter that happened at one point. I remember that.
Other than
that, it was not a great
the receiver teacher on TikTok. He posted a clip of one of Michigan's receivers running this like he really sold that corner route and then hit hard on the post. And Green, no one within 20 yards of him. And I'm like, it was a good route, but dog, that was the worst man coverage rep I've ever seen.
It wasn't great.
It was truly awful.
And then they had their problems offensively too. I mean, I don't know what is wrong with Ryan Day, but he's just not aggressive. He goes in with the idea that he doesn't want to lose the game, and he needs to go in with the idea that he needs to go out and win the game. They threw 2 deep balls to Marvin Harrison, both covered, both caught. It doesn't matter. You can just spam Marvin Harrison to an extent, but they're running on 1st and 35 and their new set of downs, run 3 times, punt. There were multiple times in Michigan territory where they had a very gettable 4th down. They didn't go for it because they didn't get it one time because Cade Stover had a drop, and everyone was having drops. It was unbelievable. Marvin Harrison had a drop who hasn't had one all year. And then all the bubble screens. Oh my God. Someone get a Sharpie and this guy's playbook and cross it out. So hopefully Kyle McCord is good. Hopefully they can rebound next year. But this is bad for Ohio State. It's long-term bad.
Matt, you said that Ohio State is the most or the more talented team, but they got blown out. But you deny the greatness of Jim Harbaugh as a head coach. How is this? Because
it has more to do with Ohio State's players not playing up to the standard they should be. Yeah. So what genius thing did Jim Harbaugh do?
Oh, he just didn't do what wasn't working. I mean, Corum's been their identity all year, and then when Ohio State took that away, they were just like, "Well, we're not going to do that anymore." Like,
he had one, and
it's not even so much.
He got hurt and
McCarthy.
Didn't play the game.
Oh well, yeah, I get. Okay, maybe edit.
Dude, like no shit. Yeah, I throw any pass play, and then they're hyping up JJ McCarthy. Georgia, please humble this man. He is not good. He is not good. I'm sorry. And I know it's like, what a sore loser. First off, if you're a Michigan fan and you're mad that I'm a sore loser, check out your head coach. Second off, dude, like, I'm sorry. McCarthy outplayed Stroud, and Stroud had a game, but like, dude, McCarthy was thrown. I could have thrown 3 touchdowns. I'm sorry.
I didn't even think Stroud played that bad.
Stroud made some really high level.
He wasn't that good, but I didn't assign him the majority of the blame on this. There was a really nice throw to the tight end when he was under pressure, which I didn't expect. That number 0 on Michigan got his hands in between and played through the catch point, and it was just a beautiful rep. I thought that was pretty good by Stroud. And there were some other plays where I thought, but you're right, it wasn't an all-timer type of game. It wasn't a game like a phenomenal game. Obviously, he lost, but they didn't put up that many points. But I think Stroud, and I'm not the world's biggest Stroud fan, as you guys know. I'm about to push he's just Mac Jones. He's like Tua type of prospect. But I didn't think he was the main issue.
No, he wasn't.
I do think that Harbaugh is an incredible coach, like turning around Stanford. Stanford was a joke before he got there. The San Francisco 49ers were a joke before he got there. And Michigan, they weren't a joke before he got there, but I mean, he's totally turned them around and has them now as, the best team in the Big Ten 2 years in a row. And like, it's kind of tough to argue with those results.
I think
man.
He's a good coach. He's
kind of tough to argue.
Douchebag, and I think that
I agree. I don't like him. I do not like him. I think that he is a weirdo. I don't know if I would want to play for him because I don't have a ton of respect for the guy as like a
the Dabo
person.
Gene.
But the results are kind of undeniable.
Well, we'll see what happens in the playoffs, because I wonder, is the standard ever going to become for Michigan to like really go win it? And maybe he will. I think he's got a very good chance this year. But I think the born on third base comment has some undertones of my players aren't that good, and Ryan Day has better players than me. And I think that's pretty weak. And I don't know. I'm just not a fan of him. I get it. He did a very good job. Michigan is, don't get me wrong, Michigan's a better team. Ohio State, more talented. Recruiting numbers will tell you that. Michigan's a better team. Ohio State, coaching-wise, defensively, pitiful. Like, and Ryan Day, yeah, he's better than Ryan Day. That much I can tell you for a fact. And Ohio State has goose egg fight. All that true. But I can't stand Harbaugh. And I think that you get what I'm saying.
That I can respect. Trust me, as he is someone who has eliminated the Packers in the playoffs multiple times. I hate that guy. Like, trust me, I do not like Jim Harbaugh, but I do think that he is an incredible coach and someone who's turned around. I mean, everything he's touched he's never won a ring. That's the thing where it's like, well, he's never won the Super Bowl. But he's gotten damn close in deep playoff runs, and his career winning percentage as a head coach is pretty ridiculous. So at this point, you got to kind of
you're right. You're right. And if you're like, oh, you're a salty Ohio State fan, yeah. Yes, I am. Well, and also, Cincinnati lost their head coach.
Yeah,
and
I was about to say, the only thing that could make you more salty is
Cincinnati is different. Cincinnati, biggest game of the year, and you got a backup quarterback in who hasn't started a game, and he just could not read defenses at all. He was sitting back there, and they still almost came back and won that one. I'm not mad at them. I'm not really even mad at Fickle for leaving. I get it. I'm a little surprised. Wisconsin, you could have gotten the Notre Dame job.
Respect Wisconsin, please.
No.
Shout out to him for not taking the Notre Dame job. Notre Dame is such a L school. Wisconsin's got a W in the name for a reason.
I'll give you that.
I don't
and
know.
their logo is a big W. Okay, I see where
And
I
their
see what
logo's
it's
a big W.
here.
I don't like Notre Dame, so I don't
Bro's trying to,
think that
Bro's
they're
trying
weird.
to turn into Wook Wickle. Like,
Wook Wickle. So I respect him turning down that loser Notre Dame school who doesn't play in a conference and gets Mickey Mouse playoff runs and hasn't won a big game in forever. I respect him not respecting Notre Dame and respecting Wisconsin. I've got to give Luke Fickell huge props for that. But we should probably talk about the NFL today as well.
I do,
unless you guys have anything else.
I do have one question about the Fickell hiring for Wisconsin, assuming it does go through, right?
It will.
It'll go through.
Yeah. But like, crazy things have happened. Do you see this as like a void of power, like a power vacuum in the Big Ten right now? Because Ohio State was like, I think about Ohio State kind of dominated the Big Ten for most of the last decade, right? And now Michigan, this is the second year in a row they've beaten Ohio State, but they're not on Georgia's level, right?
No.
So do you see like Wisconsin could have an opportunity? They see like, okay, if we bring in a really good coach, this is our opportunity now to recruit a good quarterback and have a shot at taking over the Big Ten.
I don't. I think
we'll see what teams are in the Big Ten in the next couple of years.
That's
here.
true.
That matters a lot and is kind of up in the air.
That's true.
Yeah.
I mean, it'll totally. I think it'll be a lot more wide open.
Yeah.
Right. As of right now, Ohio State's still recruiting the best of any of those schools. Wisconsin's recruiting class this year is terrible. I think it's like barely top half. I think it's awful.
But you could get a much better one next year if you had Fickell as your coach.
Yeah, but with UCLA and USC maybe, and then you got Nebraska getting Matt Rule, which I do think is a good hire, despite many quotes you could possibly pull up if you had watched previous episodes of this podcast. And I think Fickell's talent Cincinnati's talent development is unbelievable under Fickell. Whether or not that's the program or him, I would lean him.
Right.
We'll see, but I think it's going to be a lot more wide open because I don't think Michigan was just unbeatably good.
Yeah,
I think everyone could agree with that. It's not like Georgia exactly.
I don't think Michigan's going to be like dominating the Big Ten for the next 10 years or anything.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Illinois is good too this season. Illinois, like they're I haven't watched much Illinois, but I know that they're good. So yeah, it'll be an interesting conference to watch. Ohio State may have the best recruiting classes, but they recruit all their guys from California, and then they have to go win a big game in December, and they just don't have the dog in them to get it done. I don't know where Ryan Day's from. I bet he's from like the Bahamas or something. The way he performs in winter.
He's from La La Land.
He was born.
Get him out.
He was.
I want football players that are from the Arctic. If you weren't raised in if you weren't born in the snow, I don't want you playing for my football team.
If I were Michigan or Ohio State, I would recruit only from the UP, the Upper Peninsula, and I would build a powerhouse.
But we'll see. Ryan Day is very much on the hot seat. If he does not win next year, I think he's gone, and it's totally a mental thing with them. Then he's just. Maybe going into next year, they will not be favored in next year's game. This much I can promise you. If they go in next year with the idea that we're underdogs, I think that'll maybe do something for the mentality they go into the game with. And if their secondary can be worth anything, they can get this back even. But
I mean, this is what we were saying last year about the linebackers. It's like if the linebackers could just
and
like
they did. Actually, the linebackers did get way better.
Yeah, they
Shout
did.
out to them. Steel Chambers was horrible last year. Pretty good this year. But
take that.
Yes.
But yeah, let's talk about some of the NFL games that happened. We can start with the Thanksgiving games, really. Especially the Patriots Vikings game was an absolute blast. I was really I thought it was just going to be like an absolute defensive masterclass from the Patriots. And it ended up being more of an offensive day from both ends. Theo, you said you had a lot to talk about from the Patriots end. You know, what were you kind of thinking about?
Well, I don't know if I have a lot to talk about. I was just kind of gauging like where the Patriots are at and maybe what the next year looks like for them. I think that's an interesting question about them and Mac Jones.
Yeah.
I think Mac Jones played amazing versus Minnesota. I think he had a totally phenomenal
It's the best game I've ever
performance.
seen him play.
he was pretty lights out. There was a throw, I think maybe even his first throw of the game, where Danielle Hunter was pushing the tight end into him. There was a big crossing route with Harrison Smith dropping and a corner trailing. I think it was, I can't remember. I think maybe it been Devontae Parker, and he dropped it perfectly under pressure over Harrison Smith. And there was nothing Mickey Mouse about any of these concepts. He's hanging in the pocket and hitting the deep in on a dagger. He's hitting the corner on a smash route. He was ripping things up the pipe. The first touchdown to, was it Aguilar? I can't remember exactly who everyone was that he completed all these things to, but Mac Jones played a really great game against a pretty good defense in Minnesota. They're not anything like crazy special. They're not like what I would consider the 49ers level or maybe the Jets level this year, but they're a solid unit right now that he picked apart. And honestly, even though they only scored 3 points on offense against the Jets, he did a decent job in that game as well. It wasn't great. Obviously, they only scored 3 points, but his completion percentage, I think, was north of 80%, and he had like 250 yards against them. They just couldn't quite, it was kind of dink and dunk all the way down the field, and they just needed a couple more explosives. But he doesn't have the wide receivers. They don't give him any help, really. Right. I mean, they'll hit him with some screens from Ramondre Stevenson, who's been really good on those. But where's the play action? There was hardly any versus the Vikings, and he still picked them apart. There's been hardly any all year. They gave Zappe play action, I think 10% more than Mac Jones. They actually gave Zappe some easy looks and made his job pretty simple. With Mac Jones, they don't do any of that. And he doesn't have, Jacoby Myers is a nice player. Ramondre Stevenson and the running backs are nice players. But really, it's a wide receiving core of wide receiver 2s and 3s, really. So I versus the Jets in the Jets games these past couple weeks, people have been like, oh, the battle of the 2 worst quarterbacks in the league, Zach Wilson and Mac Jones. I've seen it. I've seen many people say that. Mac Jones, I don't know what his
probably said that.
You probably pushed those narratives, but Mac Jones, I think the Patriots should stick with him for a while. And it's not because I think he's going to be great or anything crazy special, but he's better than he's playing now. And it's tough to find a quarterback in this league. I think you can win a decent amount of games if you build around a guy. I think you can win a decent amount of games if you just exercise some common sense building around a guy like Mac Jones and not giving him Tyquan Thornton and Devontae Parker and Matt Patricia as his play caller. You can do better than that and win some football games. Bill Belichick, defensive mastermind. The defense is the Vikings did a good job, but overall this season, this has been a top 5 defense. The Patriots defense, they lost JC Jackson. They didn't draft a single player in the front 7 in this draft. And people were like, well, there's just no talent. They've got Judon and who? They've got Duggar, I guess, is a good player. And it doesn't matter. Good defenses year in and year out. I think if they just build this thing around Jones a little better, and post after the bye, he said, I did a meticulous self audit and I totally I'm going to rework myself. And I think he's kind of gotten on that path of improving in this kind of sketchy at times offense. And I don't know if they're going to make the wild card. They're in a great division, right? Yeah. But I do think that you can build a playoff team around Mac Jones. And unless you have the opportunity to bring in somehow a Caleb Williams, if you can all of a sudden, Lamar Jackson is you have the possibility to get a guy like that, then you move on from Mac Jones. But you can build something like what the Vikings have right now with Kirk Cousins. You can build something like that around Mac Jones, I think. And I'm not ready to just totally give up on him yet, even though I don't think he's phenomenal. I think he can kind of be in that tier 2-ish, low tier 2, high tier 3 of quarterback. That's kind of what I have to say about the Patriots, even though they lost this game. Yeah. I'm not out on Mac Jones. I think the Mac Jones masterclass was notable from this one.
It was. The receivers being mid is truly the thing they need to fix. And they spent all this money on it. That's the crazy thing, is they spent the most money in Bill Belichick's entire career. They went out and spent all this money on a bunch of nobodies. it's like Aguilar, Jacoby Myers. Like, what are we? Devontae Parker.
Like,
what are we?
Right.
What are we talking about?
Spending a high pick on Tyquan Thornton. It's like you could have used those resources and gotten a better option than this.
Like,
and it's not necessarily horrible, but like, we've seen what a real wide receiver one can do for an offense.
Right.
Like, get Mac Jones a guy like that and let's get him comfortable. And he was in the rookie of the year conversation for, I think, a reason. He's a sharp quarterback and accurate. He's not special, but he's not the worst in the league. And so that's just kind of my thing on the Patriots versus Viking game. We've spent a lot of time talking about the Vikings. I think they're good. I still think they're like maybe not great, but they're good. And with the Patriots, like, there's still something there with Mac Jones. Was kind of my takeaway. And Bill Belichick, which this didn't really happen in the last game. This wasn't really a takeaway.
There is something to worry about
from the Thanksgiving game, but Bill Belichick's defensive mind is still pretty crazy considering the overall results from the season that they've had.
You do have to worry a little bit about, like, how old is Belichick at this point?
You got to worry a little bit about it. Yeah, I mean, he's like one of the oldest coaches in the NFL.
I think Pete Carroll's older, but
is Pete Carroll older? That's
like
crazy.
by like a year. I think.
Yeah.
I wonder if he's got to like the end of Mac Jones' rookie contract, and then it's like you're in a really tough spot to win a Super Bowl if you're paying Mac Jones, and you'd be like 74 at that point. That would be my general guess.
Yeah, because he's on like tenure there. So it's
right. He's not really on a contract. He can kind of walk away when he feels the time is right.
Right.
I feel like, I mean, there's been no rumors. It's not like, it's not like Brady where it's like, he's mulling retirement. It's not anything like that.
But it's something that does have to be like thought about is like, he's probably 70, 71. Like at what point does he start thinking, you know what? Maybe I've been doing this too long.
Yeah, I mean, Tom Coughlin is 76 and he retired a while ago, and Belichick is not that, but he's old, but I don't think that can really play into your decision making, right? Like, we don't know. We really don't know if it's going to be 5 years or 2 years, because you can get a lot done in 5 years. So I don't know. I just thought that was a very notable performance from Mac Jones and something that needed to happen this year, the way he's been playing. But that was a really good performance, and he's strung a couple decent ones together. Not great ones, but he hasn't looked like over the past 3 games, he has not looked quite as atrocious as he did at the beginning of this season. So that's what I've got to say about it.
It's good to see. Now, the other game I want to talk about is the Bills-Lions. And I think mostly from the side of, at what point do we start taking the Lions seriously? Because they're on what now?
Seriously as what? Seriously as what?
Like they have to be a deep playoff threat next year, right? I think so. I think that's where.
Well, then next year we start taking them seriously.
But I think they're not totally out of like the ability to make the playoffs this year. Even they're 4-7 right now.
I take them seriously as a feisty team that could beat you if no matter who you are. Like, I take them.
That's who they were last year,
right? But yeah, I mean, I
don't know. I
take them seriously as a rebuild. I take them very seriously as a rebuild, and I take them seriously as a franchise. I do take Dan Campbell seriously. We could talk a little bit about the clock management at the end of the game, but
it's not. It was Jared,
which I thought was fine.
If Jared Goff had just hit the throw, if Jared Goff had just hit the throw to DJ Chark, we wouldn't be talking about this.
And if you trusted your defense, you wouldn't worry about the clock management. But you have to coach for the guys that you have.
But here's the thing, like that deep shot, right? He should have hit the deep shot. But the other thing that was happening in that play was a full-on blitz. They had tons of guys on the line, and they blitzed, I think it was Milano up the middle, and then I think it was Teron Johnson off the edge. And DeAndre Swift was there. And he had to block. He should have blocked Milano first of all, because Milano was blitzing through the A gap, and you should block the closest threat to the quarterback if you're the running back. He should have picked up Milano. He ignored Milano and went to the other guy. But anyway, that doesn't really matter to the play. If you're gonna face a big blitz like this, usually you just take a short throw, and there was a slant on that play that was open. Amon-Ra St. Brown. There's your hot route. Hit the slant. You're at like the 25-yard line with like 25 seconds left and 2 timeouts. You can target the middle of the field and you're fine. You can take some shots. Eventually, Goff would have to hit a throw like that. I thought Dan Campbell put him in a pretty good position there at the end of that game. Honestly, like 25 seconds, 2 timeouts, knocking on the door of the red zone. You can target all areas of the field. Like, maybe it wasn't perfect, but man, I mean, the way you were talking about, the way people were talking about Campbell at the end of that game, you'd think that he kneeled to run out the clock. Like, I thought they were in a fine position at the end of that thing.
I think that I agree with the idea. It's like he mismanaged the clock badly, I think. Like, very, very overthinky. I don't understand it. But it did not cost, like, it's like, that cost them the game. That was like, it's not, okay, it's not quite that serious. It's not that much of what it is. I agree. It's like something really tangible, really quick. You can see it immediately in any angle. If you're watching it in any way, if you're listening to it on the radio, you'll know what's happening. And people say, like, that's the reason they lost the game. It has more to do with that. There's a lot of ways they could have won, even in spite of that.
Right. It was a successful drive, too. Like, maybe it wasn't a perfectly executed drive, but it did tie up the game and hypothetically bring it overtime if Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs weren't.
It should have won them the game.
Maybe.
Yeah, you should.
But the problem is that it doesn't make any sense what he was doing. If you get the ball, you don't start running the clock as soon as you get it. That is playing for the field goal. And that's exactly what happened to them. Because I guarantee you, if they had not started, and they could have run it, but they were like purposely burning clock. If they hadn't done that, they would have gone for it on 4th and 1. I promise you. And they limited their options when they got down in Bills territory because of how they decided to run the clock. You get down the field and then you start to chew time. You don't do it the other way around.
I wonder if the failures of the guards who were kind of getting cooked all game made them think that they couldn't go for it on 4th down, because they did earlier in that game or earlier in that drive. They weren't in field goal range and they hit that end around to Amon-Ra St. Brown. They went for it on 4th because they had to, but they didn't go right up the middle. They did the 4th and 1. I wonder if, and the guards were really getting killed in that game, if they thought the matchups weren't in their favor there and going right up the gut would get stuffed. I wonder if that played into their mind at all, having the backup guards against the Bills front seven.
I think that it was just the risk reward of going for it on 4th down when you only have about 20 seconds left and you're like, 30 yards out, is not worth it, because you just don't have a ton of time. And you'd feel so stupid if you didn't get it for the sake of, like, well, then we still got to kind of hit a real big play. It was poor clock management. That's not how you manage the clock.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't perfect, but I maintain that the bigger problem with is Goff there, who on that 3rd and 1 not only missed the deep shot, but could have easily. I mean, everyone was open on that play, and it was the blitz, so like he had to pick one and hit it. But if there's a blitz, and there clearly was a blitz coming, you take the slant, and he didn't do that. And if he would have completed that,
really, if he recognized that a blitz was coming, he probably predetermined where he was going with the ball.
Right, but you should predetermine the hot route, which would be the shorter route, the slant. Like, usually you would just be like, if there's a zero blitz coming, slant. Okay, there's my slant. Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's been cooking all game. Like, that's probably where your head should go, instead of, oh, I'm gonna throw this thing 30 yards down the field. And it was open. He could have still hit it. But I mean, if he hits that throw, like, then all of a sudden they didn't leave the Bills any time left. And I don't know. To me, it wasn't worth the amount of slander that Dan Campbell was getting, especially when he managed the game pretty well. He went for it on some 4th downs early in the game, scored a touchdown. And on a 4th down that I think there's definitely a couple coaches in the league would have kicked a field goal in that situation. So I don't even think he called a terrible game overall, even if there are some nits to pick at the end. But to your question, Bladen, I mean, we've talked about the Lions a decent amount this year. Yeah, they're a good team. If you drop a quarterback into they could have won that game with a better quarterback. Goff took a horrific safety in the end zone. He missed those throws at the end. She tried to do a 360 no scope and like almost threw it directly to a defender. Like a better quarterback probably wins that game, and it's not a bad supporting cast at all, especially once they get Jameson Williams back. So yeah, I mean,
yeah, it's true they do still have Jameson Williams in their back pocket.
Yeah, so we'll see how it goes. That's definitely one where if Carr were to move places, like you could do that, because they also need to invest a lot on the defense. But and I guess the other part of this game is like maybe another kind of concerning performance from the Bills. You know, the Lions aren't that good. The defense is really bad, and Josh Allen threw some more bad picks and came down to the wire. Any kind of different feeling? Are you getting lower and lower on the Bills, or
their secondary just has to get healthy? That's really what it comes down. Like,
yeah,
if their secondary is this hurt, they're going to give up a lot of plays on offense. Like their defense is going to just keep giving up a lot of plays, and they're going to keep having to kind of fight for their life at the end of these games. That was the point of this Bills team to me. Is like, you can get the explosive, but it's like you get up and you just go. You should get up 14-0 right away, and then you can just kind of like coast and let your defense rock everyone's world. But they can't do that because they're missing like the best safety duo in football. All of their corners are out. Now Von Miller's out probably for the year, right? Like what?
Not necessarily.
Yeah, I mean,
not necessarily. Oh, okay. I haven't seen any updates on.
I think my concern with the Bills is, the stat where an MVP has never won the Super Bowl. It kind of feels like that's kind of my concern for the Bills. It almost feels like too much is on Josh Allen's shoulders a lot of the time, just with the running game, right? There's not much intermediate passing. There's not much runs like when it comes to power or counter or anything with a running back. It's just a lot of Josh. It's a lot of Josh.
And it's surprising because Singletary's been good this year. When they've used him, he's been relatively effective. So I'm kind of shocked that they don't want to use him more.
Well, their line is not very good. Their line doesn't get a whole lot of push. And Singletary is 5'7". He's not someone that you want protecting. He's not really a 3-down back that can handle like this huge workload. He's tiny. He's one of the smallest guys in the whole league. Yeah. And with their secondary, like Trey White has hypothetically been healthy for like 3 weeks now, and he just doesn't really come in the game. So like, I don't know what is going on with him, but with Miller out, it almost kind of feels like this isn't the most complete team from top to bottom like we thought. And it kind of felt like that again today. And I do think like a lot of people take Josh Allen out of the MVP race because of some of the dumb picks that he's thrown. I think from a letter of the law, like most valuable player, I completely disagree with that. I think by definition, he is someone that the offense completely starts and stops with. And I think he is responsible for like almost all of their success and failure. So I do think like by definition, he is still kind of an MVP towards an offense that is still ranked second in points and yards per drive right now. So I still put Josh Allen in that MVP race and really up there in candidacy. But it's going to be hard. Right now,
it's hard to give it to him over Mahomes, though. It really would.
I'm not saying he is the MVP. I'm saying that he is a candidate, even with the dumb picks, because of everything else that he offers. But it doesn't quite feel like the most complete team top to bottom to me right now. And maybe if their secondary can get healthy, consistent, and they can get Trey White back playing at a high level, I'll change my mind. But need to see, like we've said before on this podcast, hurt players can stay hurt. So we'll see.
Yeah. All right. I want to talk about Sunday's games. Matt, we both won today. How do you feel?
With the locks?
No.
Oh.
No. The Browns and Panthers. Panthers once again winning too many games, as they always
Matt,
do.
The Panthers won. How are you?
I literally, I genuinely do not care. Bryce Young and then who? They're not going to be worse than the Texans at this point. It doesn't even matter. Okay, cool. Culture wins. It's Sam Darnold.
I'm surprised Nathaniel Hackett. I don't want to talk about the Panthers at all. Like Sam Darnold played kind of surprisingly well. I think I didn't watch much of this game outside of the highlights, but it seemed like Darnold played surprisingly well against a top defense. But
didn't he throw like 18 passes?
I don't know. They put up 350 yards, 19. And he threw some nice passes.
19.
Hey, Tua's gotten props. I can't say it. Tua's been playing well. He played well again today.
Yeah.
But you can throw 19 passes and still be good, is what I'm saying.
That's true.
Yeah. But I'm surprised Hackett is still on the Broncos right now. I think that's my main takeaway from that game. And when I saw the results, like on the ticker at the bottom of the screen, I'm like, he's getting fired it's going to be a tarmac firing to lose to the Panthers like this. But he's still hanging around. We'll see if that's true by the time this episode releases tomorrow. But I don't want to talk about this game too much.
Yeah. No, but the Browns won today, and that's a marvelous outing to see. And this might be the last time that the Browns play Tom Brady, and the Browns won. No, but
last goal wins. Last one to score wins.
Got him. Last shot wins. Let's go.
Yeah,
no.
That's exactly. Is that what you're claiming here?
Pretty much. No, but I was really kind of surprised by how subpar the Tampa Bay offense was. I thought their play calling was kind of shoddy, especially towards the end of the game. Like they did not threaten the Browns front seven one time, not once. The only time that they did try, they would either do these like long developing passing concepts in which you just give Myles Garrett time to get to Brady and then he has to make a throw under pressure, or they'll like run to the outside. They'll do like a sweep play and it'll just be like to Jadeveon Clowney and then Denzel Ward's filling on the edge outside. I'm like, you are not attacking this Browns defense how you should at all. So I don't know. It felt like a game of a lot of, and the Browns too, both sides were kind of shooting themselves in the foot a lot, bad penalties, just like dumb mistakes. But you like to win those games when you can. I do like how the offense looks at times. Like the first drive is always amazing. They have these great schemes for the first drive, and then we're mid for the rest of the game. And then in overtime, we pulled together one last clean drive. Amari Cooper looked great. The David Njoku catch to send us to overtime was, one of the best of the year. And it was, overall solid outing, but man, if you're the Bucs, you have got to be like, we could have easily won that game.
The Bucs are going to look so different next year, and it's fascinating to see the directions that they're going to go. There's going to be no Brady. There's probably not going to be any Bowles after this year. I don't think that he's done a very good job with who he's starting, like Rachaad White over Leonard Fournette. Like, I just don't think Leonard Fournette is any good, and you've got this highly drafted rookie that is just getting run now that he's hurt, and some of the secondary decisions on like who they're playing where. Jamel Dean is obviously like extremely good, and it seems like they're kind of just now realizing this. The play calling, like you said, is bad. There's not very much of a mentality when it comes to running the ball. Like we talk about how bad the Browns front seven is.
Yeah.
Well, the Bucs are the worst rushing team in football. So it's,
I guess that's fair, but like,
maybe we shouldn't have given them, and me, I locked the Bucs. Maybe I shouldn't have given them so much credit. We'll be like, well, maybe this will be the one game that they can actually do something. Maybe I should have thought, well, maybe this is the one game that the Browns front seven can actually bottle someone up. But yeah, they've been sleepwalking through this season, and it's going to be new coaching staff next year. Most likely it's going to be new quarterback. They could go any direction they want, and they'll probably just hire a Shanahan knockoff and hope Kyle Trask can cook.
No, you said it right. You said it right the first time, Theo. No.
I don't know, but yeah, it's this. You were really hoping that the Bucs could put some stuff together. Like they were on a little bit of a winning streak after Brady's divorce. They were like, "Oh, here we go." Brady is, they struggled to begin the season, but here's where Brady starts to really kind of put the pedal to the metal and just kind of run away with things, right? But
Mad Brady.
It didn't happen versus the Browns here, so really kind of derailed everything. So they could still win this division, obviously, but definitely
it's not a hard division to win.
You were really hoping for a turnaround if you're the Bucs, and it was a pretty easy game, but
this was a really big win for the Browns, though. Like, you get Watson back. That's next week, right?
Yep.
Watson is back next week.
Yep.
Listen, we talk about the first drive is always great, and Jacoby Brissett has played some all right football. This offense can be the best in the league. Like, I really do believe that. The receivers have looked really good. Harrison Bryant and Njoku have been some pretty strong tight ends this year. They both made really great catches today. Watson could really open up that offense.
There is no excuse for Watson. Jacoby Brissett is, I believe, like top 10 in a lot of efficiency statistics right now. Not when I say top 10, I mean like 10. Yeah. It's more like top, like in the that 10 to 15 range. But I mean, they've got a wide receiver one in Amari Cooper. They've got a great tight end. They've got an amazing running game. They've got a quarterback who is playing some efficient football right now, even though he's nowhere near the talent that Deshaun Watson is. I mean, the last time we saw Watson, he was maybe the best quarterback in football, really. I know the Texans only won 4 games last year, but I mean, they did not have much talent around him, and he was still at the top of the league in basically every metric, and passing the eye test for flying. They were not making things easy for him,
right? And
he was still absolutely had a fantastic season. So, I mean, if he plays anything like the 2020 version of himself in this offense, like there's no excuse. There is absolutely, they gave him all the money in the world. If he's rusty, he hasn't played in a long time. I don't care. That's not an excuse either, right? Like, I watched Jamar Chase take a year off and a bunch of Micah Parsons, he took a year off from football during the COVID year, and they came in and were like the best rookies ever right away. You're dropping a guy like that into this offense. I mean, it is a complete disaster if he doesn't look good. I mean, pretty much right away. There's not a lot.
And you're not, and this is a team where like they were supposed to be well out of the playoff race at this point, right? We were looking at Miami, Buffalo, Tampa. I was like, yeah, you're 0-3. Like, and at that point, you're going to be 3-8. Even if you win out, you're probably not going to be in. But if you could win out here, 10-7, you are definitely you're definitely going to be making a push for the 7 seed, maybe at that point. So but he has to look good, right? That's
even if they don't win out, because the defense is certainly questionable. One of their corners, whenever I had the game. That wasn't the main one I was paying attention to, but there were a couple times I glanced at that game, and there was some corner who seemed to be having almost making a play every time. What was his name? Anderson? Was it that? Who? I can't remember.
Do you know what number he is?
No, they were talking about him on the broadcast a whole lot. They're like, he has been making plays all day, so maybe he's something. But I was mainly paying attention to some other games, so I can't.
Is it Martin Emerson?
It may have been. I don't remember.
Emerson. Yeah, Martin Emerson's pretty good. Greedy Williams has been very underwhelming this year. He's been getting cooked a lot. Newsom's been out, which it stinks, but that's just how he's been, since we drafted him. Same kind of with the Panthers and I can't think of his name now. But
anyway, we don't have to spend too much time on it. But
Horn?
We'll see.
Yeah, JC Horn. But yeah, we don't have to spend too much more time on it. Theo, who won today?
Trevor Lawrence.
Trevor Lawrence.
He won when everyone. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it when it happened. All the other games were over. Red zone cut to his game-winning drive. Everyone was watching Trevor Lawrence, and I'm like, he's only good when no one's watching. He's going to screw this up. And instead, he engineered maybe the best drive of the season. Like, oh my God, he was hitting hole shot after hole shot in this fourth quarter, like 3rd and long, 4th down. He was just slicing and dicing a really good Ravens defense. And look, I don't have much more to say about Trevor Lawrence. I've said all this already. I hope people start to realize it now. But he's really good, guys. He is the most underrated quarterback in football. He is the most underrated quarterback in football. He has got all the traits you look for: the mobility, the arm strength. He reads the field. He's got twitch. He's got poise. He has got the accuracy is iffy, I will admit. But I mean, today he was dotting people up. He had a couple strange misses high, but I mean, he hit some extremely high level throws. And yeah, that is what it can look like. And it is not that far away. You're getting Calvin Ridley back. I posted a video about it, and a lot of people said, I still think Fields is better. You know, Fields is way better than this guy. Trevor Lawrence has one good game, and all of a sudden he's better than Fields was the main comment I got. And so, even though that might be, isn't it? That might be a debate. It's more like the other way around. Exactly. Yeah. Like Fields is good. Do not get me wrong, but I almost feel like the Fields versus Lawrence debate is like a little bit like a real version of the Tua versus Herbert debate, where it's like, well, Herbert does all the crazy stuff, but he's not as good kind of in structure and in quick game, when Herbert is actually quite good in structure and in quick game and doesn't do any negative plays, while also being very good at all the crazy athletic stuff. With Fields versus Lawrence, I almost kind of feel like Fields really isn't so great at this point with like really quick game stuff, trusting the structure of the offense, like being a precise pocket passer, but he is amazing at the out of structure, making guys miss, scramble, drill, like hitting something anyway stuff right now. And that's a good thing, right? It should be easy to teach him the easy stuff eventually, or easier. So that's kind of how I feel about it. And I feel like Lawrence is a little bit better with the structural stuff right now, and also does offer you some pretty substantial big playability with his arm and his leg. But I didn't mean that as like a total slight to Fields, but I think that Lawrence, no one has watched any Jaguars games this year, and he doesn't quite have the big playability that goes viral like Fields does. But I'm pretty confident saying that Lawrence is the better player right now, but that's not, I don't want to be a total Fields hater here. I just think Lawrence is better. And I think a lot of people are kind of misunderstand Lawrence because I just don't think they've watched him very much. And I don't blame them, honestly. It's the Jaguars. Anyone have any different opinions on that? Like Fields versus Lawrence?
It's not a different opinion. I think the big takeaway at this point with the Lawrence stuff, and even with Fields, it's like, all of these quarterbacks, like remember we do like the chart and we look at like how efficient these guys were in their rookie year. And you see that like all of the rookies and like the year two guys are at the very bottom for the most part in efficiency. And they're all at the top of the league in how frequently they play out of structure, right? All of them are like this. So when everyone's over here like, oh, well, Zach Wilson's going to be better, or Justin Fields or Trey Lance or whoever, and like all of these guys are playing at the exact same level, basically. The things that you really have to look for are those like, well, how well does he manage a pocket, right? How well does he, stand in and deliver a throw? How well does he read the field and do all these little things that are kind of more nuanced? Right. Those are going to be, I think, the more important things going forward when scouting quarterbacks, more so than like, oh, look at this cross-body throw he made in his pro day. It's like, I think people are going to slowly start to realize that, maybe that wasn't
you need both.
The best
and that's
process.
Kind of, I think, a big misunderstanding about people when I judge quarterbacks. People think that I only like guys who can do the crazy shit, the like sidearm, the Justin Herbert 70-yard bomb, the crazy arm strength. People think I only like quarterbacks like that, and I don't care about pocket presence, and I don't care about how you operate in structure. I do care about that a lot, and honestly, I think it's harder to do the in structure stuff than the out of structure stuff. And if you don't believe me, like I will ask you, how do you, listener at home, play Madden football? What is easier for you? What is your tendency? What do you do? You run around, you throw picks, you go out of structure. No one just like, I've been playing that, even me, I've been playing that game for years, and it's like tough to just like go back and just slice people apart from within the structure of the play and within the structure of the pocket. And so I really think that's like a hard thing to do over and over again, and a hard mindset to get yourself in, especially if you're a guy like Zach Wilson or whoever who in college like was able to run around and hit the big play all the time. It's really tough to kind of rein it in. So it is important to do that. And it's something Fields does need to learn and get better at. And I think he can. But Lawrence is quite good at it, and has some bad misses sometimes, makes some bad decisions sometimes, but there's a lot of good stuff with him, and I think we saw that today.
We made a deal with Matt earlier. We were like, he's like, we can give the Clemson quarterback the praise if he can spread his Tucker propaganda.
Notice how Matt didn't say anything. You didn't say anything about Trevor Lawrence. That we can't praise Trevor with tears.
I'll say, if we're going to talk narratives, you know who did not play good today? I know we wanted to skip over the Panthers game, but Patrick Surtain, what's happening to your boy? Because he's being outplayed badly by J.C. Horn. And we have been ragging on the Panthers for years over this pick. Well, Patrick Surtain's had 3 touchdowns dropped on his noggin in the last 2 games? So what's up with him? Because right now he got diced by Darnold and DJ Moore.
Rough stretch.
Rough stretch.
Rough stretch.
He was getting called the best cornerback in the NFL by some analysts I know.
Because he was playing like the best cornerback in the NFL for 8 weeks.
He heard you, and he got
the Bladen curse got to him. It's crazy.
All it took for Lawrence, by the way, was me making a negative tweet about him before the game where I said, this one got an old takes exposed retweet where it was raining and it was a rain delay. And the last time Trevor Lawrence played in the rain, he fumbled 5 times, and he played in the rain once in college and it went horribly. So I said, Trevor Lawrence rain game, bet the house on Baltimore. But the thing is, and this is why it wasn't a bad take, is because the skies cleared up and it was not raining by the time the game started. There was a miracle weather turnaround. Everyone was cooking me. Oh, Theo, this aged horribly. It wasn't raining. Once I saw that it was sunny, I was back on the Trevor Lawrence bandwagon. I just didn't tweet about it. But everyone ignored that the weather.
Do not take weather advice. Theo is not a meteorologist. Do not trust his weather.
How was I supposed to know that the storm was just supposed to be gone by the opening whistle? I thought maybe the lightning would be gone.
Check the radar. Check the radar.
I should have checked Jacksonville radar. But Matt, I did not watch Surtain get sliced and diced because I'm not a psychopath who is going to tune into the old Russell Wilson versus Sam Darnold duel. I'll check the tape and get back to you on that one. But you're right. He did get. I think I.
But yeah, no,
I would too. Honestly, that's a good question.
Obviously, I don't really think Surtain is bad or anything. I just think that J.C. Horn is of that caliber of cornerback. He totally is, and he totally deserves to be in that conversation. And he's not, because he didn't play his first season. He's not quite getting that recognition yet. If I say people are sleeping on J.C. Horn on Twitter, I'll get a bunch of people being like, "What are you talking about?" But he's not quite recognized yet. There's a lot of good corners. I got a lot of cornerback narratives to push.
It's hard as a corner. You kind of have to either be like Trayvon Diggs, where he had 11 interceptions, or you have to be good for
you have to have Pro Football Focus tweet stats about you, because otherwise cornerback
especially when
really
you're on the Panthers and
they aren't watching.
If you're on a bad team and cornerbacks are and cornerbacks aren't even on, and when you are watching, corners aren't even on the screen. So it's like I haven't even there's a lot of people out there who haven't seen J.C. Horn all year because he's been just doing his stuff off the screen on a terrible team. They just have not even seen him. They haven't even seen him enter the frame. So it's hard. Yeah. And honestly, I don't want to say other people, not me though. I've watched him a bunch. No, not even me, man. I haven't watched the Panthers. I haven't studied the Panthers defense all that much.
That should be your next all 22, Theo.
My next one will be on a corner. My next one will be on a corner.
Ooh.
I'll say that.
Okay.
A hint.
Okay. So Matt, you're not gonna take your victory lap on Tucker?
I mean, I'm just
He missed a 67-yarder, man.
no, but he's
not top five anymore.
Up. Dude, actually, I did see a video the other day.
I've seen you push.
I saw a video where people are like, if you just get it on the other team's side of the field, he makes it 100% of the time. No, he does not. And I know they're being a little hyperbolic. Well, yeah. Let's be clear. Past 60 yards, it is like 90% whether or not your team can block well enough for you because you have to get the ball so low. That's half of the battle. He's like 2 for 9 from out of there. He's unbelievably reliable, but this idea, because he did hit a 66-yarder. He's got a great leg too, but there's also a lot of guys who could hit that kick and just don't have the chance at it. I think this idea that he's yes, he sucks. That's what I'll say. I will leave it at that. He sucks.
I think the two kicks that you've like pushed narratives on with Tucker are like 65 plus yarders and kick. And you're like, and yeah, that got blocked. So this is like how great Justin Tucker is. This is Matt. You said that like if LeBron has haters, Justin Tucker needs one. This is like this very much is like, I expect him to perform you truly have taken that mantle to heart because you are hating on him for not achieving the most like Bron it's legitimately like the LeBron arguments where it's like, well, he lost to Golden State with J.R. Smith is his number 2 star. Like,
yeah, it's like exactly he should be. I thought he was the GOAT.
Yeah, so
MJ would never. MJ would have just manufactured a better team. Like
Daniel Carlson would have hit it. Daniel Carlson is your MJ. Is your MJ, man.
Or maybe like Evan McPherson because he hit all those playoff kicks or something.
Evan McPherson is your MJ.
Speaking of the Bengals, though, is this team are they back?
Here's what I know about Burrow, man. Offensive line not playing well. You know, he doesn't have any fast receivers, but he gets it done. And for some other quarterbacks,
I think Burrow's taken a step up this year, man. I legitimately think Burrow is better this year than he was last year. And I mean, I put him on my MVP rung with some other guys because of those things. And I do think they're legit. I watched this game and they kind of sliced through the best rushing defense in football. And Mixon was hurt with Samaje Perine. I mean, they ran a lot of power. There was a lot of pulling guards, and they just took it to them. I mean, their success rate running the ball was high, and it has been high, like really since the quarter mark of this season. They are one of the best teams in the league in EPA per rush, and that is big. That is very big that they can go on against a great rushing defense. And Burrow didn't even do too much down the field. He and Higgins connected. There were some great passes in the fourth quarter. But, I mean, they were in this game for a long time. Not because there wasn't even much like kind of longer developing drop back stuff. It was a lot of screens to Perine. It was a lot of kind of quick hitters to Hayden Hurst over like the center. And their rushing defense was or offense, was moving them up and down the field. So if they're going to have that kind of rushing attack, and the protection was better today, and it's been better recently. I think they're starting to figure some things out. I think Burrow only took 1 sack today. Wasn't under a whole lot of pressure. So and you're getting Chase back. And so if Burrow's playing better, the offensive line is playing better, and the rushing attack is better, and the run defense with DJ Reader back was completely suffocating. This is a pretty damn good team. The one thing is you've got the pass defense, right? You had Chidobe Awuzie out for the season. That in the playoffs could get there might be some games where, you know, if you go and chip Trey Hendrickson, like maybe a better passing offense than the Tennessee Titans could win a shootout. I think that's where I'm at with them, but I'm kind of bullish on the Bengals. Honestly, I'm going to wash my hands of the previous Bengals slander, because even though they didn't win by too much today, I was impressed with almost all aspects of their team.
I didn't think they ran the ball that crazy great today. I mean, they were under 4 yards a carry. And I also think that
but again, it was impressive considering the defense they were playing today.
That's true.
If they did this against the Browns, I'd say no way. But they had over 100 yards, and their success rate was good. They didn't break any long runs, but I think they did a pretty good job keeping ahead of schedule and staying on the sticks. I'm trying to look at their EPA per play on the rush. Their success rate was like about 38%. EPA per play was, about minus 0.1, and a minus is never good, but it was decent. It was like a decent rushing performance against the best rushing defense, and overall they've been very good over the past couple of weeks.
The other thing is that the Bengals EPA per play rushing wise is possibly a little skewed, especially if you're like, well, let's see if they've gotten better. And I'm just going to look at the second half of their games, because they had 5 rushing touchdowns by one player in a single game. And that kind of maybe makes the numbers look a little bit crazier than they actually are. But I do agree that the Bengals offensive line is playing a lot better. And people maybe overreacted a little bit. It's like, dude, you got 4 new offensive linemen. It was rough, but, and I overreacted a little bit too, but like it was rough, but like they're eventually, chemistry matters so much with that unit.
Yeah, and I still don't totally trust La'el Collins and Jonah Williams. I mean, there are times this year where, chemistry or not, they just got crossed over or dunked on or did some. Yeah, like they were on an island and they just lost. But they've been playing better and they've been running well. And yes, they had that crazy game. They had that crazy game from Joe Mixon, no doubt about it. But yeah, I think this is a pretty complete offense, and they haven't done as much down the field without Chase. But I mean, Burrow's been playing well, and T. Higgins, I kept waiting for it. I was actually a little surprised in this game because a big key, and I think I bet on him anytime touchdown, was, okay, all the Titans corners are like 5'10". He is 6'5".
Yeah.
I kind of thought this was going to be a game where they're like going to max protect and just throw a bunch of shots. I thought it was kind of going to be a big T. Higgins game, and he was quiet until the fourth quarter. And then they started airing it out, and it started working. But it was like the Titans hung in there. I thought Ryan Tannehill played all right. I thought, they totally bottled up Derrick Henry. I mean, his longest run, it was like the playoff game. His longest run was 9 yards. There was just nothing there. But they had some explosive passing plays. They had a screen to Derrick Henry that resulted in a touchdown after he fumbled, and Treylon Burks recovered it. Treylon Burks totally mossed some guy like 51 yards down the field on a play action shot. So yeah. Tannehill didn't turn the ball over, which is why they lost the playoff game. They were able to hit some explosive plays in the passing attack, but overall it wasn't quite enough. It wasn't good. At the end of the day, Burrow just had the deep shots to Higgins, and they just had a little bit more juice from their quarterback. So yeah, and their running game. It's just a better offense. But honestly, yeah. It was. I think the Titans, they're not super talented. They're really well coached. They had a chance to win this if it wasn't for kind of a strange penalty at the end. But coaching can only get you so far. And towards the end of this game, it was just like, fuck you. I've got T. Higgins, and we have better players, and we've got Burrow, and we've got Trey Hendrickson was pretty big in this game. He had a pass. I don't know if he had any sacks, and he had a penalty on him, but he was creating some pressure that caused Tannehill to short arm some things. And it was kind of like, we've got DJ Reader, and you've got who on your offensive line? Like, fuck you guys. And there's a couple teams that I think are capable of doing that to the Titans that'll be in the playoffs. So they're a nice team, and they hung in there, but overall they don't have the talent to be contenders. And I think that kind of came out today.
Yeah,
but the Bengals do. The Bengals do, except for their corners. Their corners are bad. Their corners
without
a
Awuzie,
it's really tough. They don't have a guy you trust one-on-one.
Yeah, but that's kind of the couple teams like that this year now.
Yeah,
Bengals,
it's wide open.
Bills, gotta be good.
I think it's almost the opposite of wide open. I think it's, or at least as far as the Well, maybe
Oh yeah, it's not wide open, but
yeah.
It's wide open to get to the AFC Championship game, and then once you're there, you've got the Chiefs. it's kind of how I'm at. I guess
it's wide open to lose to whoever gets the opportunity to lose to the Kansas City Chiefs.
But the Bengals beat them last year. So
that's true.
It's possible. It's a one-game series.
Anything is possible.
And same thing in the NFC. It's wide open except for the Eagles, but the number 2 team, it could be anybody. And it may not even be the Eagles. It could be the Cowboys, but yeah.
It could be the Cowboys. Do you want to talk about the Chargers?
Justin Herbert goated, sadly. That's all I got to say about this game. I will never say anything bad about Austin Eckler again since I won 100. I had my best betting day ever, you guys. And Austin Eckler
let's hear the parlay,
touchdown.
Theo.
Are you getting me?
It was... My parlay was an alternate under in the Broncos game, the Broncos versus Panthers game. It was like under 45 or something, which was like minus 400. It was really easy, but combined with the Bengals money line, it just added a little something extra to it. And I thought it was kind of free money. And so I put $50 on that and won like 67. And then the other one was a special where it was D-Hop and Adams over 50 yards and a Austin Eckler touchdown. And that was like plus 200 because it was odds boosted. So I put 50 on that. And Eckler on the last play of the game won it. So even though Eckler, I don't think you're a bell cow back, and I'm not impressed when you run between the tackles. You are a hell of a receiving back who caught that game-winning touchdown and prevented me from losing $50. So that's what I have to say about the Chargers. I don't know. Their defense it still kind of got cooked in this game, but Herbert finds a way. He got bailed out. I will admit Herbert got bailed out on that tipped pick that ended up getting dropped by Zaven Collins. And they were able to punt that away instead of giving the Cardinals great field position. Herbert kind of did get totally bailed in this game, but there's been multiple times where Herbert has done everything and then the defense like just sells for him. So if he gets bailed, and he's allowed to get bailed one time. Okay, he can get bailed.
Everyone gets bailed. Everyone gets bailed a little bit.
It evens out. There's been so many, like in the last game against the Chiefs, he throws a fucking 70-yard pass to Keenan Allen, like one of the throws of the year, and puts him ahead with like 90 seconds left, and then the Chiefs just march down the field like it's nothing. Like, it evens out. So I didn't watch too much of this game. I was making some other videos, and I was watching Josh Jacobs have 300 yards on the Seahawks.
Yeah, so, I just knew that you would like to give Herbert his praises for the game-winning drive.
He's had so many too. It's so crazy.
The Raiders are such. I'm glad you brought up Jacobs. The Raiders are such an enigma, man. They make no goddamn sense.
Just know that he's Walter Payton now. That contract year, Josh Jacobs is Walter Payton, and that's all you got. And they have one good defensive player, and that's Max Crosby, and that's what you need.
And he's amazing, and he's that fucking guy. Like,
yeah, that was an interesting.
I don't know, man. They might just be bad on defense. It might just
be bad.
This is the second game in a row where they've had a walk-off game-winning touchdown in overtime.
86 yards too.
This is the second in a row. Like what? Like what is this team, bro? They're so weird.
Derek Carr and Kirk Cousins are the same guy. I swear they like. I think both of them must have like the most game-winning drives in the league. Herbert is up there too, but they're just always in close games, like the two of them, and sometimes it's their own fault. But at the end, they're good enough to like pull it out at the end. So that's
Derek Carr can hit someone if he's open like this. Let's not get that twisted.
He played pretty well. I mean, the first pick was weird. I don't know what he was doing there. Just missed Devontae and the crosser, and Quandre Diggs had an amazing catch. But he got hurt hitting the ribs, and maybe just breaking your ribs is like a superpower for a quarterback. Whatever they like inject you with, like there's been multiple times where I've seen quarterbacks hurt their ribs and then come in and like throw the greatest pass of their life. That happened to Derek Carr today. It happened to Justin Herbert, his throws after he broke his ribs, and it happened to Justin Fields in that one playoff game. I've seen it happen too many times. I'm starting to be like, if a guy breaks his ribs, I don't know, they'll give him some sort of injection and then he'll just be balling. So yeah. Josh Jacobs though.
I think that Josh Jacobs,
shout out him.
But I think that pretty much wraps things up for us. As always, tons and tons of content coming to all platforms. We hope you all enjoyed your Thanksgiving and are ready for another week of normalcy in the NFL. And we're getting down to the nitty gritty. Teams got to start showing, if they're capable of staying hot. Nothing. No.
Line.
No laugh. No getting. Good Lord. Anyway. Getting down to the nitty gritty of the season. Super excited to see how it turns out. And as always, from Cornboy, Birdboy, and Lemon Boy, thank you all so much for tuning in. We will catch you all on the flippity flop.